This story is titled, My Wife Called Me, Just a Roommate. So I made her pay like one, and now she is begging. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Alright, so 30 male, need to get this off my chest because things have gone completely sideways with my wife Melissa, 28 female. We've been married for 3 years, but together for almost 6. When we first met, it was at this bar through mutual friends. She wasn't like supermodel hot or anything, but definitely pretty, and had this really confident vibe that I was into right away. We hit it off, exchanged numbers, and started dating a couple weeks later. The first few years were honestly pretty awesome. We did all that couple stuff, weekend trips, meeting each other's families. Her parents were kinda standoffish, but whatever. Moving in together after a year. I proposed on our 2-year anniversary, and we got married about 8 months later. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends. I bought a house about 6 months before the wedding. My name's on everything since I paid the down payment from money I saved up working my ass off at my job. So for the first year of marriage, things were good. We'd both come home from work, cook dinner together, watch shows, normal stuff. We talked about maybe having kids in a few years. But looking back, I can see things started changing maybe around year 2 of our marriage. Melissa started getting more into her career. She works in marketing, started staying late at work more, going to these networking events, gradually spending less time at home. I was supportive, figured it was good for her career and all that. I picked up more of the household stuff so she could focus on work. Started paying most of the bills too since she said she wanted to build her career before focusing on money. It was little stuff at first. She'd cancel our date nights last minute because of work. She'd be on her phone constantly even when we were supposed to be spending time together. If I brought it up, she'd get defensive and say I wasn't being supportive of her career. So I backed off. We stopped doing things together on weekends. She was either too tired from work or suddenly had these brunches and shopping trips with her friends that I wasn't invited to. Started feeling like we were just existing in the same space but not really connecting anymore. Anyway, last couple of months she told me her friend group is doing this dinner thing at this new restaurant downtown and she wants me to come. I was honestly surprised she even asked me. It had been months since she included me in anything with her friends. I wasn't super excited about it. Her friends are mostly these marketing PR types who just talk about work drama and gossip about people I don't know, but figured maybe this was her trying to include me more. So we went to this dinner. There's like 8 people total. Melissa, me, and 6 of her friends. The restaurant is packed and loud, and we end up at this long table. I'm like 3 seats away from Melissa, sandwiched between her friend Taylor, who's talking to someone else the whole time, and some guy I never met before who's on his phone. I'm basically just sitting there nursing my soda, not really part of any conversation. Nobody's talking to me or even acknowledging I exist. Pretty normal for these things, honestly. I'm used to being the invisible husband at this point. I'm kind of zoning out, thinking about this project at work I need to finish, when I hear Melissa's friend Caitlin ask, "So how's married life treating you these days?" The way she said it was weird, like there was something behind the question. That's when I tuned in to what Melissa was saying. And guys, I swear, it felt like someone punched me in the stomach. Melissa laughed, not like a happy laugh, but this dismissive snort, and says, "Oh please, he's just my roommate at this point. Just my roommate." I literally froze with my beer halfway to my mouth. I mean, who says that about their husband? And the way she said it wasn't joking at all. It was like she was stating some obvious fact that everyone already knew. She even glanced at me when she said, and noticed that I was paying attention, but didn't give a shit. What's worse is how her friends reacted. They all laughed and nodded like this was completely normal. One of them even said, "Aren't all husbands just glorified roommates eventually?" And they all cracked up even more. All except this one girl, Olivia. She's newer to their friend group. I've only met her a couple times. She didn't laugh and actually glanced over at me with this look like she felt bad for me. At least someone in this group has a soul, I guess. I don't even remember the rest of the dinner conversation. My brain was just stuck on replay hearing my wife call me her roommate over and over. I kept eating and drinking on autopilot, not saying anything, just trying to process what just happened. The thing is, she didn't even look at me when she said it. Didn't check if I heard. Didn't care. Like I wasn't even a factor in her life worth considering. On the drive home, Melissa was chatting about random stuff, acting completely normal while I'm sitting there feeling like my whole marriage just got nuked. I barely responded. Just one-word answers and nods. When we got home, flopped down on the couch scrolling through Instagram like nothing happened. Like she hadn't just completely disrespected our entire relationship in front of all her friends. I stood there watching her for a minute, waiting to see if she'd say anything. Acknowledge what she said. Apologize? Anything. But nope, nothing. That's when it hit me. Maybe this wasn't just a random comment. Maybe this is actually how she sees me. Just some guy who lives in the same house and pays the bills. Not her husband, not her partner. Just her roommate. I couldn't hold it in anymore. So, am I really just your roommate now? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, even though I felt anything but. Melissa looked up from her phone, annoyed at being interrupted. What are you talking about? At dinner. You told your friends I'm just your roommate at this point. She rolled her eyes and went back to scrolling. Oh my god, it was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive. That's just how we talk sometimes. Didn't sound like a joke, I said. Well, it was, she snapped. You're seriously overreacting. Can we not do this right now? I'm tired. And that was it. No apology, no explanation, not even acknowledging how it might have hurt me. Just dismissing my feelings and making it seem like I was the problem for being upset. I didn't want to escalate things because I was still trying to wrap my head around everything. Plus, I wanted to think about how to approach this. But one thing was clear. Something in our relationship was seriously wrong, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next morning, I went through my normal routine on autopilot. Melissa was rushing around like usual, barely acknowledging me except to ask if I'd seen her phone charger. Just another normal day for her. As I was driving to work, I kept replaying that moment at dinner over and over in my head. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I've been busting my ass for years to build a life with this woman. I bought the house we live in. I pay most of the bills. I've been supporting her career by taking on more household responsibilities. I've been the one making all the effort in our relationship while she's been, what? Going out with friends? Working late? Barely paying attention to me? And this is how she sees me. Just some dude who happens to live in the same house? By the time I got to work, I'd made a decision. If Melissa wants a roommate instead of a husband, that's exactly what she's going to get. I spent my lunch break setting up a new bank account and transferring most of our money from our joint account into it. I left enough to cover my half of the bills for the month. Not a penny more. I used to pay like 80% of everything because I make more, but roommates split bills 50-50, right? When I got home that evening, I didn't ask Melissa about her day like I usually do. I didn't tell her about mine. I just said, hey, and went to the spare room where I've got my gaming set up. Usually I'd wait for her to finish work and we'd decide on dinner together, but not tonight. I ordered a pizza just for myself. When it came, I grabbed a couple slices and went back to my game. Melissa came in looking confused. Did you order pizza? Where's mine? I shrugged, not looking away from my screen. Oh, I just ordered for myself. Figured you'd get something if you were hungry. She stood there for a second, like she was waiting for more of an explanation. When I didn't say anything else, she just went, okay, and left the room. I heard her in the kitchen a few minutes later making herself something. That was the start of what I now think of as Operation Roommate. Over the next couple weeks, I systematically changed how I interacted with Melissa. I stopped texting her during the day to check in. I stopped picking up groceries for her. I stopped doing her laundry with mine. I stopped asking if she needed anything when I went to the store. I stopped telling her when I was going out or when I'd be home or making dinner for both of us. Basically, I stopped doing all the husband things and started acting like we were just two people sharing a living space, like roommates. At first, Melissa didn't really seem to notice. Or if she did, she didn't say anything. She was still going out a lot, still working late, still on her phone constantly when she was home. But after about a week, things started to change. She came home one night and opened the fridge, then turned to me with this annoyed look. There's like no food in here. Didn't you go grocery shopping? I didn't look up from my laptop. Yeah, I got my stuff. It's on the left side of the fridge. Your stuff? What about the rest of the groceries? I just bought what I needed, I said, still not looking at her. Figured you'd get whatever you want for yourself. She made this frustrated noise. Since when do we buy separate groceries? I finally looked up at her. I don't know, just trying something different. Is that a problem? She stared at me for a second, then just muttered, whatever, and ordered takeout for herself. The real drama started about 2 weeks into Operation Roommate. Melissa texted me during the day saying she was buying these expensive shoes she'd been wanting, and her card got declined. She called me right after, sounding pissed. Why is there only $700 in our joint account? She demanded. That's your half of the bills for this month, I said calmly. My half? What are you talking about? And where's the rest of our money? I set up my own account. That's my money from my job. The joint account is just for bills now. There was a long pause before she spoke again. You moved our money without telling me? What the hell, Jake? Not our money, my money, from my paycheck. You've got your own job and your own money. But we've always shared finances. You can't just change that without talking to me. I almost laughed. Yeah, and I thought we were husband and wife, not roommates. But apparently things change. What are you talking about? She sounded genuinely confused. Nothing. Look, I put your half of the bills in the joint account. You need to pay that by the end of the month. The rest of your money is yours to do whatever you want with, just like mine is mine. She started saying something else, but I told her I had a meeting and hung up. When Melissa got home that night, she was fuming. She stormed into the living room where I was watching TV and stood right in front of me. We need to talk about what the hell is going on with you, she said, arms crossed. I muted the TV. What's up? Don't what's up me. You know what's up. The money. The groceries. The way you've been acting. What's your problem? I shrugged. No problem. Just making some changes. Without talking to me? That's not how marriages work. And there it was. My opening. I looked her straight in the eyes. Oh, so we're in a marriage? That's weird because I distinctly remember you telling your friends that I'm just your roommate at this point. I'm just trying to live up to your expectations. Her face went through like 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. It was just a fucking joke. I didn't mean anything by it. Didn't sound like a joke to me, or to your friends based on how they all nodded along. Sounded pretty serious, actually. It was just girl talk. You're being way too sensitive about this. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally seeing things clearly. You've been treating me like a roommate for months. Barely talking to me, always on your phone, going out all the time without me. I'm just finally returning the favor. Melissa's eyes narrowed. So this is what? Payback? Real mature. Number just adjusting to our actual relationship status. Roommates don't share finances. They don't do each other's grocery shopping or laundry. They don't check in during the day. They live separate lives under the same roof. Isn't that what we're doing now? She stared at me, opening and closing her mouth like she couldn't decide what to say. Finally, she just threw up her hands and walked out of the room, muttering about how ridiculous I was being. But I noticed something interesting over the next few days. Melissa started trying harder. She texted me during the day. She suggested we order dinner together. She asked about my day. Too little, too late in my opinion, but interesting. What she didn't know was that Operation Roommate was just getting started, and I was about to take it to the next level. So about 3 weeks into my roommate routine with Melissa, something unexpected happened. I was grabbing coffee before work at this place near my office when I heard someone call my name. I turned around and saw Olivia, that friend of Melissa's who actually looked uncomfortable when Melissa called me her roommate at dinner. Hey Jake, right? She said, walking over. Melissa's husband? I nodded. Yeah. Hey, Olivia? She smiled, looking surprised I remembered her name. Good memory. I didn't know you came here. Every morning, their coffee's better than the office stuff. There was this awkward pause. I could tell she wanted to say something, but wasn't sure if she should. Listen, she finally said. I've been wanting to reach out. That dinner a few weeks ago, what Melissa said wasn't cool. I just wanted you to know not everyone thought it was funny. I was kind of shocked someone was actually acknowledging it. Thanks. Appreciate that. Are you guys okay? I mean, not that it's my business. I shrugged. We're figuring things out. No way was I dumping my marriage problems on someone I barely knew, even if she seemed nice. Olivia nodded. Well, I hope things work out. For what it's worth, I think you seem like a gentleman. That made me smile for the first time in weeks. Thanks, Olivia. We ended up sitting together for like 15 minutes talking. Turned out she's actually pretty cool. Works as a physical therapist. Moved to the city about 6 months ago. Met Melissa's group through a mutual friend. She was easy to talk to, and it felt good having an actual conversation where someone was interested in what I had to say. Before we left, she hesitated, then said, Look, I know this might be weird, but if you ever need someone to talk to, here's my number. She scribbled it on a napkin and handed it to me. I honestly felt it was a bit weird, like crossing a line. I didn't know what exactly was her intention, but I thought I could use some help, and it also seemed like she was just being nice. Thanks, I said, putting it in my pocket. I might take you up on that. A couple days later, I was having a particularly frustrating day. Melissa had been increasingly pissy about the roommate situation, complaining about having to contribute more to bills and how I was being childish. Then I found out someone had used our joint credit card, which I thought was canceled but apparently wasn't, to buy a $500 purse. 3 guesses who. I was sitting in my car in the office parking lot, just fuming, when I remembered Olivia's number. I thought of giving her a shot. Maybe she knows what Olivia is up to. So I texted her, "Hey, it's Jake. Is that offer to talk still open?" She responded almost immediately, "Absolutely. Everything okay?" We ended up meeting for coffee after work. I didn't plan to dump everything on her, but somehow, looking into her big warm eyes, it all came pouring out. The roommate comment, how Melissa had been distant for months, how I'd started Operation Roommate, all of it. Olivia just listened, not judging, occasionally asking questions. When I finished, she sighed. "I don't know Melissa super well, but from what I've seen in the group, she talks about you differently when you're not there." My stomach dropped. "How so?" Olivia looked uncomfortable. "She complains a lot. Says you're boring, that she feels stuck." Wow. I didn't know what else to say. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything." "No, I appreciate the honesty. Seriously." Before we left, she touched my arm. "Jake, you deserve someone who's proud to be with you, not someone who treats you like an inconvenience." That hit me hard. Because she was right. It was the first time I actually saw Olivia. Not just as Melissa's friend, not just as someone who happened to be around, but as someone who noticed me, who saw the cracks before I even admitted they were there. We started texting after that. Just casual stuff, how the day went, little annoyances, inside jokes. But it felt different. Like, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just talking to fill dead air. Someone actually wanted to hear what I had to say. No sighs, no eye rolls. Just a real conversation with someone who actually gave a damn. And man, I didn't realize how much I missed that until I had it again. Melissa didn't even notice, of course. She was too wrapped up in her own world, still going out several nights a week with friends from work and coming home late smelling like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I wasn't stupid. I knew where this was headed. But I needed proof before I made my next move. Now let me get this clear. I'm not normally the suspicious type. Really, I'm not. Been cheated on before in college and promised myself I wouldn't be that paranoid boyfriend checking phones and stuff. But there's a difference between being paranoid and just connecting obvious dots. Melissa was showing all the classic signs: staying out late, being secretive with her phone, sudden new work friends I never met, getting all dressed up for office meetings, plus that cologne smell. I mean, come on. I needed to know for sure, though. First, I tried the direct approach. "So who's this new work friend you've been hanging out with so much?" I asked casually one morning. Melissa barely looked up from her phone. "What? Oh, just people from the marketing team. No one interesting. Seems like you're with them a lot lately." She rolled her eyes. "What? Are you monitoring my schedule now? I thought we were just roommates." She made air quotes with her fingers. "Just making conversation," I said, walking away. Clearly, the direct approach wasn't going to work, so I made a decision that some people might judge me for. But whatever. I bought an AirTag. If you don't know what that is, it's this little tracking device Apple makes. You're supposed to use it for finding your keys or luggage, but people use them for other stuff too. I waited for a morning when Melissa was still sleeping. Her car keys were on the counter like always. I quickly took them, slipped the AirTag into this little pocket in her car's center console where she keeps spare change and receipts, and put the keys back. The whole thing took maybe 30 seconds. That same day, Melissa texted saying she'd be working late again and not to wait up. Perfect timing to test my new setup. Around 6 p.m., I opened the Find My app on my phone and checked the AirTag location. It showed her car was on the move. I watched as she drove, not toward her office downtown, but toward the fancy apartment complex on the north side of the city. Her car stopped there at 6:45 p.m. My heart was pounding. Part of me hoped there was some innocent explanation. Maybe a friend lived there. Maybe there really was a work thing there. But deep down, I knew. For the next 3 days, I tracked her movements. The pattern was obvious. Tuesday. Told me she was having dinner with coworkers. Car went to the same apartment complex from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Thursday. Said she had a client meeting. Car at the apartment complex from 6:30 p.m. to almost midnight. I texted Olivia during all this, not telling her what I was doing exactly, just venting about Melissa's obvious lies. Olivia was supportive but cautious. "Are you sure you want to know?" She texted. "Sometimes finding out just makes things more painful." "I need to know," I replied. "I'm tired of being played for a fool." I decided to take the final step. The next Tuesday, when Melissa said she had another late meeting, I told her I was going to grab drinks with some guys from work and wouldn't be home until late. Total lie, obviously. Instead, I parked down the street from the apartment complex and waited. Sure enough, at 6:30 p.m., Melissa's car pulled in. I watched as she parked, checked her makeup in the mirror, then got out and walked to one of the buildings. She typed a code at the door and went inside. I sat there for maybe 15 minutes, debating what to do next. Part of me wanted to storm in there, Catch them in the act. Make a huge scene. But what would that accomplish? More drama? No thanks. I just took pictures of her car in the lot and the building she entered. Then I took a deep breath and drove home. I now had all the proof I needed. My wife was cheating on me. The question now was, what was I going to do about it? I called Olivia on the drive home. When she answered, I just said, "You were right about everything." "Oh, Jake," she said softly. "I'm so sorry. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm done being just her roommate." That night, I slept in the spare room. Melissa didn't come home until after midnight. She didn't even notice I wasn't in our bed. The next day, I called in sick to work. No way I could focus on spreadsheets and meetings while my marriage was imploding. I spent the morning researching divorce lawyers and found one with good reviews who could see me that afternoon. I laid everything out for him. The roommate comment, the cheating, the house situation, our finances. "So what am I looking at here?" I asked after explaining everything. He leaned back in his chair. "Well, you're in a pretty good position, legally speaking. The house is in your name and you owned it before marriage, so that's likely protected. No kids makes things simpler. Virginia isn't a pure no-fault state, so her adultery could work in your favor. The main question is how contentious you want this to be." I thought about it. "I don't want drama. I just want out." "Smart man. The ones who want revenge end up paying me a lot more money." He gave me this knowing smile. "Let's draft the paperwork. In the meantime, document everything. Her absences, evidence of the affair, financial records, and don't tell her you're filing until we're ready." I paid his retainer and left feeling lighter somehow, like I was finally taking control of the situation. When I got home, I had a text from Olivia asking how I was doing. I suggested meeting for coffee, and she agreed. We met at this quiet little place a few towns over, where Melissa's friends wouldn't see us. She looked worried when she saw me. "You look exhausted," she said. "Haven't been sleeping much?" I stirred my coffee absently. "I met with a divorce lawyer today." Her eyes widened. "Wow, that was fast." Once I knew for sure about the cheating, it wasn't a hard decision. "Our marriage has been dead for months," she nodded. "I get it, but it's still a big step." Olivia reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Just a quick, supportive gesture, but it felt more genuine than any touch I'd had from Melissa in months. "What happens now?" she asked. "Lawyers preparing the papers. I'm gathering evidence. Then I serve her and ask her to move out. She's not going to like that." I shrugged. Tough. She should have thought about that before cheating on me. We talked for almost 2 hours. Not just about the divorce, but about everything. Our jobs, families, favorite movies, travel stories. It was so easy talking to Olivia. No feeling judged, just two people genuinely interested in what the other had to say. When we finally said goodbye, she hugged me. "You're gonna be okay, Jake? Better than okay?" For the first time in weeks, I actually believed that. Over the next few days, I kept gathering evidence. Took screenshots of our bank statements showing I paid for everything. Downloaded records of Melissa's credit card charges, fancy restaurants I never went to, hotel charges on nights she was supposedly with friends. Backed up the AirTag location history. Put it all in a folder for Richard. Meanwhile, Melissa was completely oblivious. She kept up her routine of coming home late, barely talking to me, and spending weekends out with friends. The audacity of it all just strengthened my resolve. At that point, Olivia and I texted daily. Nothing inappropriate, I wasn't going to be a cheater, but we were definitely getting closer. She told me about her past relationships, her difficult family. I opened up about stuff I hadn't told anyone in years. She made me laugh when I didn't think I could. I thought it was nice having someone supportive through all this shit. A week after seeing the lawyer, the divorce papers were ready. The lawyer advised serving Melissa when she wasn't expecting it, preferably with a witness present. "You want someone there who can verify how it went down," he explained, "especially if she gets emotional or makes threats." Without thinking twice, I asked Olivia if she'd be my witness. She agreed immediately. "I'll be there," she texted. "Whatever you need." I set the date for Friday night, when I knew Melissa would be home. Time to end this farce of a marriage once and for all. Friday came faster than I expected. I spent the morning going over the plan with the lawyer, making sure I knew exactly what to say and how to handle different scenarios. He gave me the divorce papers in a manila envelope that felt way too light for something so serious. Olivia texted me throughout the day with encouraging messages. "You can do this. Stay strong. I'll be there." Simple stuff, but it helped. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my house at 6 p.m. Melissa usually got home around 7 on Fridays when she wasn't going straight to her jerk's place. The plan was for Olivia to come over around 6:30, then we'd wait for Melissa together. We sat there for a bit, not really drinking our coffees, just killing time. At 6:25, we headed to my house. Olivia's car was way nicer than I expected. Some luxury SUV that must have cost a fortune. We walked into the house, and for a second, I hesitated. It felt weird having Olivia here, Melissa's old friend in our space. Except it wasn't our space anymore, and Olivia wasn't really Melissa's friend anymore either. I gave her a quick tour, pointing out random things just to fill the silence. She smiled, that small, knowing smile she had. You don't have to give me the real estate agent walkthrough, Jake. I'm just here for moral support. I chuckled, rubbing the back of my neck. Yeah, guess I'm just not used to, someone actually wanting to be here. She tilted her head at that, like she was reading between the lines. Then, as we stopped in the living room, she suddenly reached out and straightened my shirt collar, smoothing it down with this small touch, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I froze. But the way she did it, so familiar, so casual, it made my stomach tighten. It had been so long since someone touched me with care instead of obligation. There, she murmured, her fingers lingering for just a second too long before she stepped back. You're all set. I swallowed, trying to ignore the heat creeping up my neck. Thanks? She just grinned, plopping onto the couch like she'd always belonged there. Anytime. And just like that, I started seeing Olivia in a way I never had before. Around 7:10, I heard the sound of Melissa's car in the driveway. Olivia and I were settled in the living room, the divorce papers laid neatly on the coffee table, waiting. Everything was in place. The front door opened, and Melissa walked in, oblivious as always. She took a few steps before she noticed us, then froze. Her gaze snapped from me to Olivia, then back again. What's going on? She asked, her tone already defensive. Why is she here? I stood up. We need to talk, Melissa. Her expression darkened as she looked at Olivia again. Why is she here for that? This is our house. She's here as a witness, I said, picking up the envelope, letting her feel the weight of the moment before handing it over. Melissa's arms crossed. A witness? For what? I held the papers out to her. I'm filing for divorce. The way her face dropped, it was priceless. Like her brain short-circuited, scrambling for a response. Divorce? She echoed. Then, as if grasping at straws, she scoffed. Are you serious? Over your little roommate tantrum? I kept my stance, unshaken. No, I said, because you're cheating on me, and have been for months. She let out a laugh, sharp and forced. That's ridiculous. I'm not cheating on you. Don't, I said, cutting through her performance. I know about the guy at the Parkview Apartments. I know how often you're there. The color drained from her face. You followed me? What the hell, Jake? I shook my head, amused at how quickly she shifted the blame. Didn't need to. I tapped my phone. I have weeks of proof. Every late night, every work event, every girls' night out, all leading to the same place. Her eyes flicked to Olivia, then back to me, her shock hardening into anger. You tracked me? That's psychotic. And you brought her here for this? She pointed at Olivia, spitting the words like they'd burn. She's been waiting for this moment since the day she met you. Olivia didn't react. She didn't have to. I wasn't letting Melissa flip the script. Olivia has nothing to do with this, I said smoothly. This is about you, your choices, and the fact that you got caught. Melissa's arms tightened over her chest, shifting gears. So I messed up. People mess up, Jake. That doesn't mean we just throw everything away. Her voice softened, her eyes searching mine. We can fix this. Counseling. A fresh start. I'll stop seeing him. Let's just talk about this. Alone. She cut Olivia a glare, like she could erase her from the room. That's when I twisted the knife. I leaned back, giving her the same blank expression she used on me so many times. Why are you upset anyway? I asked, my tone dripping with sarcasm. I'm just your roommate, right? That's what you wanted. She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was the one being ridiculous. That dinner? You're still mad about that? Jake, it was a joke. I nodded, like I finally saw her point. Oh, right. A joke. Hilarious. Then I tilted my head. Wait, so you do joke about replacing your husband with another guy? Just checking? Her jaw tightened, but I wasn't done. You were right, though, I continued, voice smooth. We are just roommates. And since I'm the one paying most of the rent, I gestured toward the door. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to pack up and get the hell out of my house. She completely lost it. Started crying, screaming, throwing things. The works. Called me every name in the book, then switched to begging, then back to anger again. Classic manipulation tactics that might have worked on me before, but not anymore. Where am I supposed to go? She kept asking, like it was my problem to solve. I don't know, maybe your boyfriend's place? You seem to spend enough time there already. That just made her more furious. Eventually, she stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. Olivia helped me clean up the mess Melissa left behind. That went about as well as expected, I said, trying to make a joke. Olivia gave me a sympathetic smile. You did great. Stood your ground. Melissa came back the next day with her friend Taylor, expecting to just move back in like nothing happened. I'd changed the locks though, so they were stuck outside calling my phone and banging on the door. I didn't answer, just texted her that she could come get her stuff on Saturday when I'd have my brother there with me. That Saturday was tense. My brother Mike came over early, and good thing he did because Melissa showed up with Taylor and her dad. Probably thought they could intimidate me or something. Her dad started going off about how I had no right to kick his daughter out of her home. I just looked at him calmly and said, actually, I have every legal right. My name's on the deed. I owned it before marriage, and your daughter was unfaithful. But hey, if you want to discuss this in court where all the evidence of her affair becomes public record, I'm game. That shut him up pretty fast. Melissa glared at me the whole time while packing her stuff. Tried the crying thing again when her dad and Taylor weren't watching, whispering that she made a mistake and wanted to work things out. I just walked away. The divorce proceedings were actually pretty smooth after that. She didn't contest anything once her lawyer saw all the evidence I had. The whole thing was finalized in about 4 months, which is apparently fast for a divorce. The funny thing is, I heard through mutual friends that her boyfriend dumped her about 2 weeks after she moved in with him. Apparently he was fine with being the side piece, but didn't actually want a relationship with her. So she had to move in with her parents at 28, which must have been a pretty big blow to her ego. As for me and Olivia, well, that's complicated. We definitely got closer through all this. Started officially dating about a month after Melissa moved out, once I felt ready. Turns out Olivia's pretty amazing. Thoughtful, supportive, smart as hell, and we just click in a way Melissa and I never did. We're taking things slow though. Both been burned before and don't want to rush. She stays over sometimes, but we're not living together or anything. She's helping me redecorate the house. Melissa's taste was always a bit much for me anyway. The other day, Olivia and I were having dinner at this restaurant downtown when guess who walks in? Melissa with some new guy. She spotted us immediately and came over to our table, this fake smile plastered on her face. Well, isn't this cozy? She said, looking between us. Didn't take you long to move on? Before I could respond, Olivia looked up at her and said calmly, he's not just my roommate, Melissa. He's my everything. The look on Melissa's face was priceless. She just stood there with her mouth open while her date awkwardly tried to pull her away. After they left, I couldn't stop smiling. Olivia looked at me. Too much? No, I said, taking her hand. Perfect amount. So that's where things stand now. Divorce finalized, house is mine, and I'm dating someone who actually gives a damn about me. Life's not perfect. Divorce is expensive and emotionally draining no matter how justified. But I'm happier than I've been in years. Sometimes I think about that dinner where Melissa called me her roommate. At the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. Now I realize it was actually the best. It opened my eyes to the truth and forced me to make a change. Crazy how things work out sometimes.